What is up, guys? Jake from OneHive here with the next CWL Invite League forecast video, and I cannot believe it's already week 8. It seems like this thing just kicked off, but here we are, week 8. Things are really taking shape, and it's really interesting, some of these matchups, how certain clans are hot, certain clans are not, and trying to decide who's going to get the win is just as hard as ever. Guys, I had several comments saying how much you enjoyed him last week, so I've got him back again. The man himself, Adam from Time to Clash. Welcome back, buddy.
Oh, pleased to be here. It's always fun, especially because we don't always agree on these things. That makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that you and I disagree sometimes more so, which is strange because obviously we've got so much in common, being from the same clan and all, than I and Powerbang or Ash or some of those guys did. It's kind of fun. So I like it as well. But let's jump into it, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about and a lot of good wars. But the first one, Dark Looters versus Power COC. Who do you have in that one?
I'm not going to mess about with this one. Dark Looters, they are the real deal. I don't care that they've had 2 losses. They're going to be in the playoffs, and I swear they've got every chance of getting to the final and winning it again. Obviously, Power COC are steadying the ship a bit after the dramas that they had, but right now they are no match for Dark Looters.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I don't know if you saw my rankings video yet, but I actually did rank them above OneHive this week. And like you said, I know they've had the 2 losses, but look at those wars. Look at the scores. Look at the 10v10 3-stars they've had in those wars. I don't know how anybody can doubt them at this point. And obviously, Power COC not necessarily at the top of the heap, so I think this is an easy pick, like you said. All right, let's keep it rolling. Guantanamo Bay versus Elite Gaming. Talk to me.
One of the toughest ones this week to call. They're both 3 and 4. Both of them with close results last week that didn't quite go their way. Both of them are capable of doing good things. Man, there's a lot of factors in this one. I'm going for Guantanamo Bay purely because, first of all, I mean, 115 stars against Buy Forever was incredible. If they can hit that kind of offense again, I mean, they can beat almost anyone in the league with that. And I don't know. I like Elite Gaming a lot. I think they've done really well. And like I said, man, it's such a tough one. But yeah, I'm going Guantanamo Bay. I can't really justify it. I'm just going that way.
Well, I feel like possibly, and I could be wrong here, but possibly your love for Lady B has clouded your judgment here. Because yes, Guantanamo Bay was hot. Yes, they scored 115 stars a week or 2 ago. But what about this week? Losing to Suomi and not looking good in the process. Elite Gaming, I think they had a very, very good tough war against the Lost, who I rank pretty highly in this league right now. I'm going with Elite Gaming.
I had a feeling we were going to disagree on that one, and I'm kind of happy about that. But like I said, I mean, really, if I'm going Guantanamo Bay, we're talking like 51-49 or something. You know what I mean? It's that close.
Yeah, no, it'll be close. I agree with you there. It will be a very, very competitive war, but I think Elite Gaming gets the win. This next one, I'm going to be completely honest, this is the first time in all of these weeks that I've been doing this has happened. I literally don't have one of these teams circled on my page right now. I want to hear your argument. You could easily sway me here. Suomi versus the Lost. Who's going to win?
I've also, this is again, these two, this one and the one that we just did, easily the 2 hardest for me to predict this season, this week anyway. I'm going with the Lost. I've backed the Lost since they've started. I've seen them lose, and I've seen why they've lost. And really, they've lost because of their own little silly mistakes. And I think they'll admit that. I think that experience, they've got better and better and better. And as great as Cotcat are, and they are, let's be clear about this, Cotcat are a very good clan. I don't know, I'm feeling the Lost, and I think that they've got what it takes to get the win there.
Yeah, you weren't convincing enough. I think I'm going to go against you, and I'm going to tell you why. Last week, when the Lost were warring against Elite Gaming, okay, and I stopped into Monster Deface's stream, and I was like, hey, it's looking all right. He's like, no, you could tell he was dejected. He said they really had a poor performance. A lot of stuff that's just sort of, it wasn't clicking. You could just tell it in the stream. You could tell it in his voice. And that's the first I've seen him like that. So I don't know if they're firing on all cylinders for whatever reasons. I've got a lot of confidence in the Lost. I think they're good. I'm afraid this might not be their week. Maybe it's the stress of having to catch up in the wars, and they're just overwhelmed. I don't know. I feel like something's off there. So I'm going to go ahead and circle Suomi on this one.
Interesting stuff. I will say this, though, that even though they weren't firing on all cylinders, they did get the win.
It's true. There's no argument. No, they did get the win. They found a way to win. I like clans that find a way to win, and so they could have that. They could have that magic sauce, whatever it is. But another one that we disagree on. I like this. All right, keep it moving. Faked Wargasm versus Cold September. Another one probably don't have to spend a whole lot of time on.
No, I love Cold September. I hope that they are able to keep improving that roster, get back on track. But this one is just a no-brainer. Fake Wargasm were awesome, even though they lost last week. I mean, they're still a very good clan. They're in the playoffs. It's pretty much guaranteed. They're going to get the win here, and they're going to get the win by a good few stars.
Yeah, I would agree with you. This is just out of Cold September's reach. Again, a clan that I have a lot of respect for because they go way, way, way back with OneHive. We've both been around for a long time, so I hope they do. I hope next season is sort of a rebound season for them, but it's not going to happen this season. It's not going to happen against Fake Orgasm. PWC versus Emphatic Elite. Talk to me.
Wow, this is just a crazy one. You have Emphatic Elite won the first 3. However, even in those wins, they were shaky. Like, they were generally beating clans that had bad performances. Now, that's not a disrespect to them. They got the win. That's important. But they never dominated with a high score. Then they lost 3 in a row. And their best performance all season offensively came against the Swarm, who have got great bases. And obviously, they're an amazing clan. However, that's when Emphatic Elite got 112 stars and actually looked like an offensive unit. Then they lost last week against Midwinters. And I'm just like, I know they've got it. I know that they can pull together. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and get 114 stars. Like, they can do it. Then I look at PWC, who are exactly the same, completely inconsistent. Last week, 115 versus 115 tiebreaker with Mariana Trench. It's like, where did that even come from? Picking between these two is just, it's incredible. However, I do believe that as good as Emphatic Elite are, they've not yet had a week where they've performed as a unit, where their 11s, the 10s, and the 9s have all connected. And because I've seen how good PWC were, even in that loss against Mariana Trench, 115 stars is still impressive. That win against War and Glory, I'll never forget that. That was just an incredible match. And because of that, I'm going for PWC.
No, I think you laid it out pretty well. And I'll be honest with you. At this point, after the way after the way Emphatic Elite started and the way they've performed the last 4 weeks, I don't know that I can pick them, minus them going up against a North Remembers or something, until they show me something different. I have to pick against them. I have to go with PWC because they are just, it seems like no one is at the wheel. This thing is just sort of swerving all over the road, doing whatever it pleases in reference to their clan. And I don't know what's going on because they looked so good. You said there was something super convincing early in the season, but to string 3 wins in a row, not a whole lot of clans were doing it. You know, it was still like, okay, these guys are pretty good. And then it's like, whoa, where did everyone go? PWC gets the win, I think.
Definitely a good war, though. Again, if anybody's watching, I do recommend you stick your head in on that one and see what's going on because it will be a good one.
All right, a little clan you might know pretty well, 6 Schlitzes versus Annihilate.
I think everybody in the community, I mean, I say everybody, obviously, the guys from Annihilate probably not, but pretty much 90% of the community will be favouring 6S in this. And 2 weeks ago, this would have been a no-brainer. However, last week, 6 Schlitzes got 3 10v10s against OneHive, which isn't great, let's be honest. 3's not a great number. You're aiming for 4 and 5. That's the target numbers for a good clan even, which 6 Schlitzes are, but they're not hitting that. Equally, 2 weeks ago, Annihilate, I mean, we were talking about them maybe not winning another match this season. Then they had a really good war against War and Glory. They lost, but they were great. They were very good. 10 from 10 on dips, solid on 10v10s. And then last week, I predicted them to get the win against Cancia, and they did. And obviously, I was pretty happy about that, I'll be honest, because it was very much against the community sort of thing. So I've kind of got this situation again, like, do I keep backing Annihilate, or do I go for the smart money pick, which is 6S? And my gut feeling here is I think 6S are just a little bit too deep and a little bit too strong for how Annihilate are right now. So I am going to go with the popular vote, which will be 6S. But I will say this, Annihilate could win this one. They've certainly got the ability, and they've shown that these last 2 weeks. And I think, again, it's a good war to watch.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And honestly, I was shocked when I heard that you had called correctly Annihilate over Cancia last week, because I would not have thought that would have been even in question, to be perfectly honest. I mean, what were they, 1-6 before that war? Or 1-5, excuse me, before that war? I mean, that was, to me, a foregone conclusion. So they do get the win, but I agree. 6S is no joke. I think 6S kind of beats them pretty handily this week.
Yeah, and obviously that bounce back from the heartbreaker that they had last week, we're very familiar with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that will give them the fire to go out there. You know, maybe we'll see an angry Six Schlitzes get 115 stars, and you're right, they could put a beating on Annihilate. I don't think that's going to happen. I honestly think Annihilate will push them. But again, I just think 6S is a bit too deep, that bit too strong.
Yeah, I would agree with there. All right, the one that you and I are probably most interested in, OneHive versus Cancia. We just talked about Cancia taking, I'm sure, what is an upsetting loss to them last week. How do you think they're going to perform this week?
I have a lot of respect for what they've done. They've already they've got 3 wins. That's more than most people thought they would get all season. This is not going to be their 4th win. I'm not going to mess about. Even with OneHive having to change their times, because obviously we're not just changing the day, we're also very much changing the times that we wore. We were an early clan. We wore at sort of early 4 or 5 Eastern time. We're moving to 9 for this one. It messes up everything for us, but I don't think it's going to matter. We're strong, we're deep, and I honestly think that it's time for OneHive to really show that we are still in that same group with Swarm, Dark Looters, and War Whales, and we are in that group. I know we are, but we haven't shown it yet this season. I accept people's criticisms of how we are. And I honestly think that this could be the week that we get 6 10v10s. It could be the week that we put up 115, 116 stars. I'm Team OneHive all the way on this one.
Yeah, obviously I'm not going to disagree with you. And I do think it's interesting how OneHive is the one 6-1 or better clan that gets that criticism. I mean, I would tend to somewhat agree with you. I think we need to get a few more 10v10 3 stars, but we're right there. I mean, we've had, what was it last week? Toma, the 96% cleanup time fail. I mean, it's not like we're just struggling there. It's just sort of not clicking or happening. But I agree with you. I think our talent pool is as deep as anybody in the league. I think we get that because we probably are well known, which is fine. I'm used to it. Been around it for a long time. But OneHive, at where we're at, I don't think Cancia's got an answer for us, but we'll see, because Cancia is good, and sometimes they are one of those clans that, it's like which Cancia's going to show up, and if the world beater Cancia shows up, we could have a tough war on our hands. But yeah, I think OneHive gets the win there. I'll let you flip it around on me. If you got the list in front of you, start rattling them off, and I'll go first on a few.
I'm kind of glad you did it on this one as well, because this is a real tough one. We have Mariana Trench versus Midwinters.
Yeah, Mariana Trench, like you said earlier, like what in the what world? Last week, 115 stars? Well, since when has Mariana Trench put up 115 stars and gets the win in a tie against PWC? I mean, that's like a Mariana Trench we haven't seen this season, to be perfectly honest. Is that the new Mariana Trench? Have they found their mojo, or whatever you want to call it? I don't know, and I don't think so. I don't know if it was just I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate. I didn't get to see the war. I didn't get to see the attacks. I don't know. But what I did say last week, and I got a little bit of hate for it, and I'm even getting hate for it this week already in the rankings, is that Midwinters is the best of those clans down there that have struggled with their records, that had lower records. And I think they somewhat showed that last week with a win over Emphatic Elite. I'm going to give him a chance here. I'm going to pick him as what I think is somewhat an upset over Mariana Trench this week.
Yeah, I'm going for Mariana Trench. That 115 stars, yes, I will admit that is a huge factor. I've been saying this all season, they haven't lost that many players from last season. Whatever has not clicked with them, we've all been waiting for it to click. Now, do I think that they're going to get 115 stars every week? No, I don't think that they're in that top group that they might have been in last season. However, I do think they are considerably better than their record and their performances have showed, and I do think that they're going to get the win here. And not only that, but I think that they're going to win by a couple. I really do. I think that they're going to be much more like that good clan that we expect them to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably remember, I really had a lot of expectations for Mariana Trench early in the season. I picked them constantly, and it just cost me and cost me and cost me. So they're going to have to convince me here. But we'll see. If they come out and put up 113, 114, 115 stars, I'll be convinced. So that's a good one.
And those kind of results as well, they're kind of scary for other people that have still got to play these clans, because obviously quite a few people got wins against Mariana Trench early in the season. And now when people look at the roster and see they're going up against Mariana Trench and know that they got 115 stars against a good clan as well, let's not make any jokes about this. This was PWC, who are good at bases, they're a good clan, they're a tier 1 clan in the rankings. However you want to look at it, PWC are a top clan. to get 115 against them, everybody else that's now going to face them will all of a sudden not be looking forward to that matchup quite as much as they were.
Yeah, it's interesting how things are changing here. We're past mid-season, towards the end of the season, how clans are, it's an evolution and it's constant. I love it. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Now then, War of the Week. Doesn't need much introducing. 7-0 War Whales versus 6-1 Immortal Thieves. Talk me through it.
Yeah, well, obviously, I agree with you. I don't think there's be any doubt. This might be even a more dominant vote for War of the Week than what last week's was, which was dominant already. A few weeks back, when they took their loss to Elite Gaming, I said on this show, I'll fess up to it, I said I thought that Immortal Thieves was being overhyped early in the season. I wasn't impressed. Then they get the win over Dark Leaders. Then they get the win. What was it? I'm drawing a blank on last week. What was it? Talk to me.
They beat Spartans Legacy and Spartans.
Yeah, that was not the big one. They beat Dark Looters and they beat. Where is it? What was the other big win? Was it Spartans Legacy? Was that it?
Yeah, because it was before Spartans Legacy had those players leave. It was when Legacy were at their top.
Yeah, they were actually when Legacy was good. And then they convinced me. I was like, okay, wait a minute. They are good. They're not being overhyped. These guys are legit. But I've not seen any sign from Warwells, apart from that one little almost slip up they had, that anybody can really beat them right now. I think they have to beat themselves. And I don't know that this is the week they're going to do it. I think they're going to be hyped for it. I think they know it's probably their toughest war left this season. So I think everyone's going to be paying attention. I think they got a better chance of sleeping on someone later in the season than they do right now. That's just my opinion. I'm going with Warwells.
I do think that if Warwells win this matchup, then we may have, probably will have an undefeated clan as well, which kind of goes against what both me and you said at the start of the season. Yeah. We were both saying it's not going to happen. But if it does, if Warwells win this, you have to think that they're going to do it. I will say this, obviously, Immortal Thieves have been getting over 5 10v10 triples every war. They've been superb. However, there is a little facet to this, which I don't want to make too much of a drama about, but it is a real thing here. If you look at the War Whales breakdowns that they've been using, they have deliberately used breakdowns that favour War Whales, and I've seen the breakdown for this week, and it favours War Whales. And as much as I love the IT guys, as much as I think that they can beat anybody, I feel that War Whales have won the breakdown game. If that's a mini game within the match, they've won it, and therefore I'm actually going to go for War Whales, even though I love the IT guys, but I think that War Whales have set the breakdown in such a way that benefits them much more than IT.
Yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. This is going to be a good war. It's going to be a competitive war. I don't see a blowout in any stretch. But yeah, I think you're right. I don't know. I just have the feeling. It's more of a feeling than it is anything. I think you look at it and say, okay, Immortal Thieves, there's no question they're hot. They've risen to the occasion in their tough wars for the most part. And I think they could do it again against Warwells. But I just think it's going to be a one star, maybe even a tie victory for Warwells on this one.
Really interesting things. If Immortal Thieves do win, both clans would move to 7-1. Who would top that division?
Yeah, no, that would honestly, if Warwells loses, that's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy because it's going to, like you said, it's going to just mix everything up. These clans with one loss, it's like, how do you figure it out? So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Okay, next up then, North Remembers versus Buy Forever.
Yeah, I think this is another one we can move past pretty quickly. I've got Buy Forever. North Remembers obviously just yet to find a win. I don't know if they will find a win this season. Maybe it's a season they've got to just sort of stomach, hold their nose, and take it, and hope for a good offseason, a good recruitment, rebuild, get things squared away and worry about that. But, Buy Forever's no joke. They're a good clan, and I don't think North Remembers can play with them.
Agreed. And I will say that North Remembers have improved. Obviously, 3 weeks ago, they were 99 stars. 2 weeks, 103. Last week, 107. But, I mean, even still, 107's not a winning score in any match. I mean, it's Buy Forever all the way in this one.
Yeah, no, we agree on
that. Last up before we switch back round then, Spartans Legacy versus OneHive 2.0.
You might not agree with me here, but I actually think this is a pretty interesting war. As far as they go in the sort of the bottom half of the league, because 2.0 clearly have had their struggles, but they've looked, they're sort of like North America. They've looked better. They lost by 1 star last week to Buy Forever. 1 star, 110 to 111. Spartans' legacy is falling apart. I think OneHive 2.0 wins this. It could be close. It can be competitive, but I think they win.
That is interesting. First of all, I agree with you about OneHive 2.0, and I'd even go one step further to say that although they have, struggled to get wins, they haven't been blown out. I mean, they're getting beat by 1 and 2 stars every week, and they're getting 110 stars every week. It's kind of unlucky for 2.0 that they've not met some of these clans on worse days, because they could easily have 3-4 wins by now. I mean, the 2.0 of the clans that are down in that bottom sort of quarter of the table are certainly on stars and performance the strongest clan down there. However, I am still going for Spartans' legacy because I don't think they are a bottom clan. They've struggled, but they got 113 stars last week, so they can still do it on offense. Granted, they're not going to be challenging the top clans, I get that. But I don't think they've lost that many players. They stopped the rut. They lost 3 in a row. They lost 3 players, roughly, which sucks. But we've seen clans collapse at that point, and Legacy didn't. Legacy stood the ground, consolidated, and I think that this week it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a really good war. I agree with you. But I think that Legacy are going to get the win, and I still think that with a couple of wins, they could creep back into the playoff spots. They're going to lose on week 10, no offense to Legacy, but they're against an excellent clan. But if they can win this and one other match, then all of a sudden playoffs is possible again.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think Spartans' legacy is going anywhere. I think that this season is sort of shot for them because they are in a rebuild process. We know what that's like. We've been through rebuilds. It takes time. And I think they will. They've got the name. They've got the talent. They can do it. But you say they got 113 last week. You've got to mention they got 113 against North Remembers. It's not like they got 113 against 6 Schlitzes. I mean, that didn't happen. So I still think, I think they're struggling. And I think 2.0 is maybe at that point of, we don't have anything to lose. So it's just buckle down, focus, get it done type mentality. They know they're not going to the playoffs. It's just a practice war for them almost. There's no pressure on them. I think you're wrong on this one. I think 2.0 gets them, but it's interesting that we've had this many disagreements. I like it.
Yeah, especially because it's probably not one of the most exciting weeks in terms of, there were more top matches last week, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's kind of cool that we have so many different opinions even this week.
All right, let's see if we can get a couple more different ones on the way down here. We got Killer Bunnies versus the Bada Bing clan. Who you got?
I want to back Bada Bing clan, I really do, but they're just too inconsistent for me. And equally, I think that the Killer Bunnies are really good. They lost 3, then they won 3. Obviously, they lost last week, but let's face it, you can't really read too much into that. I think Killer Bunnies are a decent clan, I really do, and I think that they're going to get the win here. Again, I can't predict Bada Bing. I wouldn't be in any way shocked if Bada Bing suddenly fired out 114 stars and got the win, but I do think that Killer Bunnies are the more reliable clan. And all of this, I mean, any of these predictions that we do, it's all about, if I had cash in my hand and I was going to put money on one of these clans, where would my cash go? My cash would be on Killer Bunnies here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm Killer Bunnies. And I think you might be giving Bada Bing a little too much credit against these guys. I think, like you said, Killer Bunnies is good. They've had their struggles, but, last week, 112 on Warwells, that's not bad. I don't think Bada Bing could do that, so I'm going Killer Bunnies on this one. Let's keep it moving. The Swarm versus North Watchers one. Again, I don't think we have a whole lot to talk about, but tell me what you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Swarm, no doubt about it. I will say that North Watchers actually played quite well last week, even though they lost. And they have had sort of glimmers of hope, but man, this is not the North Watchers that I wanted. Because I backed these guys at the start of the season to be decent. I'm not saying that they were going to be top 4 or anything, but I thought they would be doing a little bit better than they were. I still feel they're going to. I feel that they're going to do some big things, not big things, but better things. But it's not going to be against the Swarm.
Yeah, no, I got the Swarm. I don't think there's any question. I think it'll be 4, 5, 6 stars, something in that range. But one that we don't even have to mention, War and Glory obviously getting the forfeit win over Reddit Alchemy. So we'll just gloss over that unless there's something you want to add about War and Glory.
Well, I will say this, they were 1-3 at the start of the season. God knows how. I mean, it was just crazy. And now they'll be 5-3 after this weekend. So obviously a streak of 4, I get it, it's a bye. It's not exactly a great achievement, but 4 wins in a row now, looking good with some massive matches to come up. So yeah, go War and Glory.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a War and Glory fan myself. I think they're good. I think they had just, sort of like WHF. I compare them to that. They had just like that shaky start, and now it's like they're building that momentum. They're a clan that you need to be looking at. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But Reddit Omega versus Tactical Inc. Now, one that I think has a potential of being a pretty good war.
Agreed. However, I still think Reddit Omega are top tier. Obviously, 5 10v10s last week and still lost. They're great at Reddit Omega. They really are. They've been around. They've won tough wars. They've been in the playoffs. They've got everything going their way, except the record. That's the only thing that's going against them right now. Their record doesn't look great, but I do think that this is just too much for Tactical Inc. So I'm going Reddit Omega.
Yeah, it's just a matter of which Reddit Omega shows up. The clan that you and I both know they can be, and that we've seen, that we warred against, or the one that just sort of, that doesn't show up. But I agree with you. I think they get the win over Tactical Inc. I think it could be a close war. Again, it's just a matter of which Reddit Omega shows up. The best Reddit Omega cannot lose to Tactical Inc. The average Reddit Omega that just sort of shows up and participates can. So we'll see who shows up tomorrow, who shows up on the weekend. And finally, an interesting war, Dark Looter Z versus WHF.
This is, first of all, it's crazy because we've got a 6-1 clan versus a 5-2, which already makes it a great matchup. Then you factor in that WHF beat Reddit Omega. They've had some good solid wins against North Watchers, Mariana Trench. However, they've had 2 losses against Cancia and Swarm. Now, okay, the Swarm not so much, but losing to Cancia was a big setback for WHF. And more so, you already referred to it on the War and Glory discussion, that WHF are definitely on an upswing. They seem to have tightened it up. Their 10v10s are very solid. The real question is how reliable are their 11s? And they have suffered a little bit for that this season already. And then you've got Dark Looter Z, who were 6-0 last week. They're now 6-1. And all of a sudden, that one defeat against the Swarm, which is not exactly like an easy clan to beat, and people have got real doubts about DLZ. And it's like, I don't know why, but I do see it as well. Like, low scoring last week, low scoring the week before. Something isn't quite as good as it was in the early weeks. If you're looking at form, you've got to say WHF have got it because, form-wise, they look to be the clan on the up, whereas Dark Looter Z maybe just dropping off from that apex a little bit. It's a really, really tough one. It would be War of the Week again if it wasn't for War Whales Immortal Thieves. There's no doubt about it because it's a huge matchup. However, something that I saw in Dark Looter Z early this season give me a lot of faith in them. It really did. So I am picking DLZ. I don't feel bad about that. Like, I really do. There's something about Dark Looter Z that I saw against OneHive, against War and Glory, and against a couple of the other clans they've faced. And I just do. I feel that they can be right there in the top 4 at the end of the season. So yeah, I'm backing DLZ on this one, not to take anything away from WHF.
No, in my mind, it's almost a shame. It's a shame that WHF has to war Dark Looter Z this war because I feel like they're on the move. I feel like things are starting to click for them. And I think if they had even a good competitive war against a good clan, that it would just help them to continue that on. But I do not think they can beat Dark Looter Z. Now, I could be way off. Maybe you're right, and I would agree. Dark Looter Z is not at their peak performance of the season, but they've not lost any good players. These guys are fine. I'm like you. Where's the doubt coming from? Show me the clans they've lost 1 war, and it was to the Swarm, who's undefeated, who's been world beaters. Where is it coming from? It doesn't make any sense. I think Dark Looter Z wins, by multiple stars. Not like a beatdown, but 2-3 stars. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
One interesting fact, though, is, and somebody said this to me, and I had to check it to be sure, but yeah, WHF actually have more 10v10s this season than Dark Looter Z, which is an interesting statistic. It definitely is.
It is, but here's the problem with that, and I hear this thrown around a lot, and I think it's fine to look at stats like that. I think it's good, but the problem is we hear this a lot, and then clans come up against us and our base builders, and where's the 5 10-on-10 triples? It doesn't happen very often. Has it happened? Yes, it has happened. I think Dark Looter Z did it. But where's the consistency? Normally clans get 2, maybe 3 on us. So I think the base building across the league is obviously not completely comparable. So I don't put a whole lot of stock in that. Yes, it shows can their Town Hall 10s come up with a good plan and have a good attack. But the bottom line is base building is everything. And when they go up against clans like this, it's going to be different. It's going to be different than when they go up against, just pulling out North Watchers last weekend. It's not going to be the same thing. They're not going to get that many 10v10 triples. Just my opinion.
No, agreed. Like I said, I do feel DLZ in this, and it's not one that I had to think too much about. I was pretty sure as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yeah, I think WHF are good, but I think that DLZ are the real deal.
Yeah, we don't disagree there. Well, we've got several we do disagree on, so it'll be fun to sort of see who comes out on top on those. But man, excellent discussion. I want to thank you for coming on and doing it again. Hopefully, you will continue to do so. I think the fans really enjoyed it, and I know that I do. So thank you, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. Can I ask you that question again, though? Because I'm curious here. The one that I asked last week. Which one did you find the hardest to predict this week?
For me, it was Suomi Caught Cat and the Lost. I think that's going to be, I just don't know. I think that's going to be a super, super close war. It's the only time this whole season that I've literally waited till we were talking it out before I made my pick. So I think there's no question for me. That's the hardest one. What about you?
I can't even decide which one of the two, but basically those two at the top, Guantanamo Bay Elite Gaming, Suomi Caught Cat, The Lost. I went round and round on both of those for quite a while. So yeah, it's just great that we have so many tough matches. Like, I was a bit worried that as the season went on, it would just get too easy. Like, oh, well, these guys have got the better record, so obviously I'll pick these. But that just hasn't happened, and that's, again, part of the magic of the setup at the minute. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. In fact, if anything, it may be getting a little harder to pick because you just don't know which of these inconsistent clans is going to show up. But it was definitely a good week for picks. And again, we've got several that are different, so that's always makes it more interesting. But again, Adam, anybody you want to shout out before we go?
Just a really quick shout out. Obviously, the support that I've had for the YouTube for CWL has been amazing. So I just want to shout out everyone that's sort of been patient and helped me along with that. So really big shout out to all those guys.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys have not checked it out, Adam taking over that CWL channel, putting out some great YouTube content along with his amazing streams, which I'm sure most of you guys have seen. If not, go check those out as well. I will try to remember to put those links in the description, Adam. Thank you again for coming on. Guys, hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, Jake and Adam from OneHive doing our very best to help you guys suck less.